Hey guys, it's Gojian Plus back down March here today. This is my first official off-season mock draft of the off-season. I guess off-season twice, but whatever. All those other ones I made, I think I made two, don't really count because we didn't know the full draft order, but now that we do, this is really my first full-on mock draft. Of course, I'm doing trades because what's the point of predicting if you don't have trades when you know trades are going to happen? I feel like it's just more fun that way instead of making every team have a set pick even if you don't think they'll take the pick. But of course, I'm going to be doing every team. Eventually, we'll be doing a 7-round mock draft for the Falcons, but that's not quite yet. But stay tuned for that one, and hope you guys enjoy this one. Let's enter the draft. Now, the first team to pick is the Chicago Bears, and it's not really too hard to tell what they're going to do. There are some rumors that they might keep Fields, but it seems like now it's way less likely now the season has ended. Seems like a lot of teams have taken interest in Fields, NFC and AFC teams. And I don't think the Bears want Fields anymore. I think they want, when you are in one of the best QB classes in NFL history, and you have the first pick, and your QB isn't set in stone, you have to pick one here. And while Caleb Williams is great, Jayden Daniels is picking up a ton of steam, kind of like an Anthony Richardson now. Except he won Heisman, and it was an amazing offense. I will still say that they're going to pick Caleb Williams now. I don't see anything that make me think that Jayden Daniels would jump up all the way to number one. Well, I wouldn't be surprised if Jayden Daniels, by the end of the combine and such, was number one. Right now, I still think Williams is the best QB on the board. That stays the same as my last mock draft, but this Commanders pick is going to be different. Now, a lot of people think the Commanders are going to pick QB, and while that does definitely make sense, I just don't think, while Sam Howell was sacked 65 times, that the Commanders should pick a QB. I'm not saying that they won't. I wouldn't be that surprised if they did. But, in my opinion, I think if you're the Commanders and you see two of the best offensive linemen that we've ever seen in a draft, I think that you should pick one. Either trade down and pick offensive lineman or pick one at 2. I have them picking one right now, but I do see the trade up down value. But Olufashanu is my pick last time. This time, Joe All has been picking up a lot of steam as well. I'm not sure. He has way bigger size, though. And obviously that matters a lot at any offensive line position, especially tackle, when you can bully those smaller edge rushers that we've seen become really popular nowadays, like TJ Watt. Well, Myles Garrett would still be a problem, but TJ Watt's pretty small. Okay, that's a little bit of a stretch, but Joel definitely outsizes him. And you got Micah Parsons in your division. You've got Kayvon Thibodeau, and I think you should pick offensive tackle here. You cannot get sacked 60 times and not pick offensive line. Next, you got the Patriots, and I think this pick stays the same. If Drake May falls to your feet, I think this Patriots offense will fit more with Drake May than Jayden Daniels. But I could definitely see him picking Daniels. But I'm sticking with QB2, Drake May as the Patriots pick. And we move on to the Cardinals. And everybody says that they're picking Marvin Harrison here. Trade down is also a possibility, of course, for a team looking for a QB. But I think when you have maybe the best player in the draft period, and it's a position of need, and you're trying to get Kyler Murray as much help as you can get, and your receiver core is absolutely terrible. I know Cardinals fans hate when everybody saying that they're going to pick Marvin Harrison, but it's by far their best selection. Being able to get Marvin Harrison at 4 is a absolute steal, especially because before they said he was going at 2, maybe even at 1. But if he's at 4, you have to pick him. But yeah, Malik Neighbors has been getting some hype to be picked over Harrison. I just don't see that happening. And now it's time for our first trade. Chargers could really pick any of the top 3 players here. They could pick offensive tackle to help out, what's his name? Herbert. They could pick maybe the best player in the draft in Brock Bowers. They could pick Malik Neighbors, but that's less likely. Even if Johnson does end up being a bust by the second season, I think they're not going to pick receiver. I think they will trade down here. So Chargers with Now I had them trading up last draft too. I mean, last time in mock draft too. The Minnesota Vikings. I think they're a really underrated QB drafting team. They're at 11, so most likely the top three QBs in the draft would not be there. And I think the Vikings are in a great position to trade up here. They have pretty much all their big picks to make the move. They have players that are tradable. I think they have like Byron Murphy on the secondary. They have Neil Hunter. They really wanted to trade him for a first. I doubt it, but it could happen. So I just really like the idea of the Vikings trading up. I know Falcons are pretty popular, and Broncos, Raiders. Those are all really popular trade up teams for a QB. I'm personally leaning with the Vikings right now, but I could see it happening for any of those teams. In this example, I have the Vikings trading up for the most obvious pick that honestly could happen, Jaden Daniels. Now, for now, I'm still having him as QB3, but it could change combine and all the other stuff. But for now, why one of the Giants team needs a running back? Well, this is another pick that's saying the same. I say they pick league neighbors. They can't draft QB. Daniel Jones needs to stay with that contract. They do not want to bite that bullet. So all they can do right now is improve his workspace, his team. And they have Evan Neal and Andrew Thomas. They do not need an offensive tackle. And they have Darren Waller. They need receiver. I would be super surprised if the Giants didn't pick receiver right now. I would go crazy. Because there's just no way you either pick defense or you pick receiver. You're not picking offensive lineman. You're not picking QB. You're not picking running back. I'd be surprised if they pick defense. I think you have to pick the next best receiver, and it's obviously league neighbors. Next, I got the Titans. And last time I had them trading down and then selecting Roma Dunze. I've been going in a different direction here. I think if you're at the 7th pick and you still see maybe the best offensive tackle on the board, and you've got a potential really good player in, what's his name? How do I not remember his name, dude? Yeah, the QB, Will Levis. Yeah, if you got him, you need some protection. The offensive line isn't terrible, but definitely needs some help. Actually, it might be terrible. But I think if you pass up on Olu Fashanu, you're tripping. Falcons, one of the biggest teams in the QB market, but how it looks, a lot of rumors are going around that we're going to trade for either Justin Fields or sign Kirk Cousins. Whatever it is, doesn't think we're going to draft one. And right now, I agree with that. I think right now our highest chances to draft a player. And now people do want us to draft receiver again, which would be insane if we drafted skill position. Brock Bowers is here, but the only chance we pick Brock Bowers is if we trade Kyle Pitts, which I can't be sure if we do that. Still all the cornerbacks on the draft board, which would be an amazing selection. Like if the Falcons get Terry Arnold or Kool-Aid McKinstry or heck even Cooper DeJean, I'd be very happy with that. But I think there's only really one correct pick here, and it's Dallas Turner out of Alabama. He's an absolute beast. It's crazy that he's not the first edge rusher picked in a lot of mock drafts. Well, I mean, I don't think it's not that crazy, but I still think he's the best in the draft. The Falcons love their Alabama players. Like, search up how many they've drafted in the last 10 years. It might be number one in the league. And the Bears just got their franchise QB. And while I do think offensive line is on the table, the best two were drafted, and they could pick Latham or Fuaga. I don't think it's guaranteed at all, though. And honestly, with all these great edge rushers on the board, and you just saw one get picked, I think you got to jump in. And I like Braylon Trice a lot, but I think Laitu Latu, Jared Verse, and Chopper Robinson are obviously the next best three. And I think they're going to pick Jared Verse. He was the number one edge rusher, I feel like when the season started. He's kind of fallen off a little bit. But I don't know if he's better than either Robinson or Latu, but I do think he's a very likely pick. It's really hard to separate these edge rushers, though, so I wouldn't be surprised if they went with something else. Jets, they need receiver for Aaron Rodgers. They need protection for Aaron Rodgers. I don't think they're going to pick a receiver. I think Garrett Wilson and Breece Hall and whoever else they have on that squad, what's his name, Xavier Gibson, they should be fine enough. They do not want Aaron Rodgers, who's going to be almost 40 next year, to be pressured constantly. And while J.C. Latham is no Olu Fashanu or even Joe Alt, he is definitely the offensive tackle 3 in this draft class. at least from what I've heard, and he's from Alabama, which is a pretty strong college. Like, they're going against some of the best edge rushers in the league, in the country every year. I think J.C. Latham is a pick here. And is that the top 10? I think it is. Yeah, it is. So next we got the Chargers. And I have them picking Brock Bowers. Last time I had them passing on him instead of getting offensive lineman. But here, Joe Everett's okay. But Brock Bowers on another level. He falls out of the top 10. I have him doing that a lot. Still can't be sure if Bowers will be picked highly or not. But in my opinion, I doubt he'll be picked in the top 5, maybe 6 through 10. I have him going 11 here, but I could definitely see it being higher. I think it's a perfect fit for the Chargers and Justin Herbert. He'd be a big upgrade to that tight end position, even though Gerald Everett is pretty good. Next, we got Denver, and Brock Bowers got picked in front of them, but I don't think they really care about that. I think they look at this corner class and none of them have been picked, and we're through 11 draft picks. I have them going with Kool-Aid McKinstry. Last time I had them going Terry and Arnold. It's really hard to tell, but McKinstry has fallen on this board at least quite a bit. But I think a lot of these corners are really good. Even Ennis Rakestraw could hit the first round. I wouldn't be surprised. So, yeah. So, Broncos pick corner. Still really hard to tell what the Broncos are going to do, though. I'm not 100% sure, especially with that weird turn on that they had on the end of the season. They could pick QB, though. Don't be surprised if they pick QB. But I think with the Raiders, we're going to have a trade. Not everybody thinking the Raiders would be the team to trade up for a QB, but instead of having them trading down here, they didn't want to trade up all the way for a QB. And since the top 3 are off the board, they think, why not? Let's just trade down. And the Packers are moving up very, very far. Wait, what am I tripping? It's a little bit farther than I thought. 25. Oh no! Why did I say Packers? That's my old mock draft. They're trading up with the Rams. So yeah, I was like, I know they didn't trade that far. So the Rams are going to trade up actually here. They're going to jump in on the pretty small defensive lineman run we had. We had Turner and Verse, and then we realized it started to cool down a bit. All right, we're not going to let what's his name, Latu fall any farther. We're going to snatch him up. He had a great season at UCLA, and they trade up for him. I'd be surprised if he fell to 19, so I wouldn't be surprised if the Rams trade up for edge rusher. Next, we've got the Saints, and last I had them picking Brock Bowers. I still think offense is a potential selection for them. I actually think they're going to go with Rome Dunze. I know they have a pretty good receiver core, but Michael Thomas has fell off. Olave is good, but I think he does need some help there, and I don't think really anybody behind him is the answer. Now, I could see them not picking receiver. I could definitely see them going in a different direction, but Saints don't have any crazy needs, and they've been picking defense a lot recently, so I think it's time to get that offense up to par with the rest of the NFC, like the Vikings and the Eagles, and the Cowboys. Next, we got the Colts, and I literally don't see them not picking Chop Robinson when he's this far. I know it's kind of anticlimactic, but they really, really need edge. Chop Robinson is a steal at this point. Yeah, he's going to the Colts, in my opinion. And last time I had the Broncos picking Terry and Arnold, and the Seahawks picking Kool-Aid McKinstry. And I have the opposite happening here, where I have the Seahawks picking Terry and Arnold. So, yeah, that's how it's going to go in this mock draft. Cornerbacks are still kind of weird. I just don't know if they're going to be picked early or late. We saw a weird fall from Christian Gonzalez when we thought he was going to be a top 10 pick for sure. So I wouldn't be surprised if these corners fell a little bit farther than what most people would expect. I mean, my first one was picked at 12, then 16. But next, we've got the Jaguars. And honestly, I think this is where a run for corners occurs. I think they're going to be like, you know what, we don't need any positions a crazy amount, but corner is definitely something we could improve upon here. We're going to go with, where's Cooper DeJean? Am I tripping? Did he announce he wasn't going to the draft? I'm so confused. Oh, she's a safety? He's a safety here. Whatever. I think the Jaguars are going to pick Cooper DeJean out of Iowa. He picked up a lot of steam early in this early in the college football season. And even if he is classified as a safety here, he can play nickel and whatever. And nickel's a pretty important position nowadays for corners, so or secondary in general. So I think the Jags would do that. And then the Bengals are like, ooh, we're getting a little bit of a run. We're going to have to jump in on this. I think they're going to go with Nate Wiggins out of Clemson. Quinion Mitchell's really good as well, but he doesn't play as a big college, so teams might be a little bit hesitant to pick him when he didn't have the competition that players like Nate Wiggins had week in, week out. But that's 3 cornerbacks in a row, but I think the Raiders are going to break that up. They could definitely pick cornerback, but when they traded down and Jason McCarthy's still on the board, people say that he's going to be a top 10 pick. So I don't think they would pass up on him at, 19? Yeah. I have been picking the 4th QB in this draft. And if you noticed, as it's the Steelers' turn to pick, there's been a few players falling. I always have John Newton falling. I don't really care for defensive tackles much in my mock drafts, except for Jalen Carter, but he was different. Keon Coleman's falling, Quinion Mitchell. But most of the top 10 players, all the top 10 players have been picked so far. I think the Steelers have a chance to trade down here. Nobody that they would really go crazy for. It won't be many spots, but I think the Houston Texans would be on the market to trade up only a few spots. What do you mean it's been rejected? You got the better... What? Wait, I gave you the 20. If you give me the 2030, you said no? That doesn't make sense. Come on, this is stupid. There's no way. Fine, we'll give you all of our picks. Okay, yeah, whatever. The Texans trade up. They see that Keon Coleman, who may be a top 3 receiver in this draft class, has fallen all the way to the 20th pick. They do not want anybody snatching him up like, I don't know, the Dolphins. I would see it coming, but you can never know. Eagles have been in the market for a receiver, according to some people as well. So you can't be too sure. And the Texans only trading up 3 spots. I think it'll be worth it to guarantee that you get one of the better receivers in this draft class, especially when CJ Stroud's good even without strong receiver core. Imagine what he could do with Keon Coleman. Next we got the Dolphins, and I think they picked Talise Fuaga out of Oregon State. They could use offensive line. They're a really good squad. Just getting to a more protection could never be bad. And next we got the Eagles. James Bradbury, I remember being a little bit disappointing this season. Darius Slay was good, of course, but Bradbury, I don't think he was. People still say they can pick receiver. And like the Seahawks did when they had their top 2, they had Lockett and DK, but they still had to pick Jackson Smith and Jigba. Because I don't remember his name for some reason. But yeah, they still went out and picked him despite already having their best 2. And I can see the Eagles doing that too. But what's his name? Keon Coleman just got picked right in front of him. So I think instead they'll just go with Quinion Mitchell, beef up that secondary with the guy out of Toledo. He might be a steal. And now, speaking of steals, the Steelers, after trading down, I think they're going to go offensive tackle and pick the best one available, Amarius Mims. Picking another Georgia offensive tackle went pretty well with Broderick Jones. And Mims is falling a little bit. I think he was injured, so can't really blame him. But next we got the Cowboys. I think they picked Mozzie Smith last year. And that didn't really help their defensive line that much. And since a ton of offensive linemen are gone and not really any of them are worth picking here, except for maybe Tyler Guyton, I think they're going to double dip in 2 years. Especially because Newton is the 13th best player in his draft class. And he's fallen to, 20-something? 24. So, yeah, I think that's what the Cowboys are going to go with. Bringing us back to the Packers, who traded down a while ago. No, they didn't. That was my old mock draft. Whatever. But they need wide receiver. It's not a crazy bad squad, but it's pretty bad. And Brian Thomas is a really good player. He's been actually picked a little bit earlier than this in a few draft classes, so in a few mock drafts. So don't be surprised if Brian Thomas ends up being picked highly. In here, I don't have him being picked that highly, 25 to the Packers, but they do need a wide receiver. And next we got the Bucks. Could see him picking QB, but let's be honest, Baker Mayfield did a decent job with him. And I think their offensive line is all right, but they don't have many huge needs, especially not on defense. I think the offensive line could use some work. I think Tyler Guyton is a good option there, helping out Baker a little bit if they decide to keep him around, which I think they will. Next, we got the Cardinals, and last time they picked, what's his name? Marvin Harrison. So, yeah, and this time they got a pretty big need at defensive line. I mean, their defensive line is atrocious. They probably were last in sacks, unless it was the Falcons, which wouldn't be that crazy either. But, yeah, the Cardinals could definitely use some help there, and I think they will go with, I almost clicked the ball next, Byron Murphy out of Texas. That's two defensive tackles, not back-to-back, but they're pretty close together. And Cardinals need some defensive line. I can't even name one, to be honest. Next, we've got the Buffalo Bills. And I guess Stephon Diggs needs help, so let's go to receiver. Because Gabe Davis is like the most consistent, good receiver of all time. Let's give him A.D. Mitchell to work with. Big jump ball player. And I think that'll help out Josh Allen a lot when he throws those 70-yard passes. Screw it. A.D. Mitchell must be down there somewhere. And next we got the Lions. And I think there's no chance they don't pick secondary here. Matter of fact, I'm so sure. And I was talking about how Ennis Rakestraw might be a surprise first-round pick, and I think he's going to go here. I'm not sure about Kamari Lassiter or TJ Tampa, but they could definitely go ahead of him, but I'm going with kind of a surprise pick, Ennis Rakestraw out of Mizzou here. And that brings us to the Ravens, it seems. And I'm going to have this be the final trade of this mock draft. I think the Ravens are going to trade down just a few spots with Carolina, just to guarantee it goes through, because DCBs be weird. But Panthers trade up into the first round. I think I had them doing that last time too. I think they do need something like soon to help Young. He's like a top 3 sack QB, and I think he needs offensive line. And there's a pretty good offensive tackle still on the board if I can find him. Wait. Okay, hold up. Okay, so his name is Kingsley Suamataya out of BYU. Troy Fautanu is a potential pick as well, but I'm going with the guy out of BYU. Really, the offensive tackle class is just so good. Any of them can be picked. It's kind of hard to pick and choose which one. Heck, I can even see Jordan Morgan out of Arizona, or even an interior defensive lineman like Graham Barton get picked here. No way to tell, though, especially so early. But that's kind of what your first mock draft is. It's just trying to get the most likely scenarios, maybe make a few surprising picks, and see how people receive it. Next, you got the 49ers, second to last pick of the draft. I think they will be going defense and cornerback at that. They kind of struggled against a not great Chiefs receiver core. I think they're going with Kamari Lassiter out of Georgia. He's a hard-hitting player. He's one of the tough Georgia players. We had Javon Bullard as well, but I don't think he's going to be picked too highly. Yeah, he's like 83. So, I will stick with Lassiter. I have him being picked first round to the Eagles in one of my mock drafts. I'm not sure if I put it on YouTube, but yeah, I think really either Bullard could then be picked high. But I think it's more likely that the more traditional cornerback will. And finally, we've got the Chiefs, and I could definitely see them trading up for a receiver, but there's so many good options that they shouldn't feel pressured to. And I think here they could go with any of these top 3, really. And I'm going to go with Xavier Worthy on maybe the best offense last season. And he was one of the big reasons why. And that is it for my mock draft. This is a little bit weird. I don't even know what's happening. But, yeah, just kind of looking through some of these interesting picks. But hope you guys enjoyed this one. I have no idea how long this video was. But a new 7-round mock draft will come later in the month. I'm going to probably try to do at least one mock draft a month, so there's going to be one coming in March as well. But yeah, send me your more surprising picks, and if you disagree with any of these. But see you guys later. Adios.